this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back. Get your lick back. If a nigga owe you something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your issue splat. Stop letting this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back. I feel like I'm JX. J-Way. I'm a perfectionist. Adderall got me restless. I'm gone. Run with a wild crew, they get reckless. Young boy, come up off that neck. Into the trends. See a lead, be the best.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Corner to Copa. I got my co-host Coach in the building. It was a busy week of baseball. We saw some very bad baseball, and we saw the bounce back. Don't call it a comeback, but to put it to round it up into a few words, it was a cold, dreary series against a divisional foe in Minnesota. We got up out of there, swept up out of there. You know, they said, don't let the good Lord hit you where the good Lord split you. But we bounced back. We're a strong home team, and we had a sweep of our own back in Detroit. But outdueled by the likes of Joe Ryan, Mick Abel, Taj Bradley, amongst others. And what did you see? What did you see in that series?
I mean, that was the house of horrors there. I know we talked offline too. We're like, we got to get some of the weather being a decent factor on and all that, because it was so cold. I mean, we saw Sunday night. We figured barely anyone was going to be there. It was going to be cold here that night anyways, but then that whole series in Minnesota, where they're a little bit further north too. I mean, they get even a little bit more so. So Casey Mize, you could tell early on his breaking pitches were struggling. He couldn't get the grip. We talked about that offline during the game, or at least the innings I could see, because this guy was also out firing this week and experiencing the weather symptoms firsthand. So let me tell you, it was definitely extremely cold. So. But yeah, whether it was starting pitching or bullpen in Minnesota, no one had really a good series to speak of. Drew Anderson again coming out and just not delivering. Offense struggled as well, although they did score some runs in some key spots in the middle of the series. I think it was just one of those things where, you go into a series and you kind of get caught off guard and you struggle to find your footing, and the only remedy is just get the hell out of there and move on. So that's what they did by rebounding with the Marlins here at home for this three-game series.
Yeah, and normally you would think, it's the Marlins, but the Marlins have been a competitive team thus far. I think to this moment, they're still above 500 team, but the Minnesota always is going to play us tough, and it's just something that we have to deal with. You hate to see us drop 4, because it's one of those things that in the grand scheme of things, those head-to-head games do affect you later on. But, it was it felt very reminiscent of September, where we just couldn't get right. But you saw a lot of uncharacteristic things. You saw our top 3 pitchers get touched up. Skubal, Framber had a really bad first inning. I'm surprised he made it 5 innings, but once he got out of that first, he definitely settled in. And Casey Mize, who is not above having a rough start, but 2 out of the 3 starts that he has, he's been good. So you take the cold game in Minnesota with a grain of salt. The biggest thing that I took away from that was runners in scoring position. It wasn't for a lack of us getting on base. We were just not converting on the opportunities that we had. We saw the first possible, quote unquote mistake from Kevin McGonigal. The whoever was pitching for Minnesota was having some control issues, and he got a 3-0 pitch, and he had the green light. I mean, he's been hot all year. If if it works out, if he's aggressive and he gets that big hit with runners on, you don't sweat it, because that's what you kind of expect from him at this point early on in the season. But it was one of those situations that you would have hoped that he would have at least taken one pitch to, force him to throw another strike, because it was, from what I can see, it was a strike. But we're splitting hairs in that game. Minnesota, Josh Bell, we could not stop. It took our outfielders, colliding, which was very unfortunate. We'll touch on that a little bit more, but that's how bad we needed to get Josh Bell out. Luke Keekshaw, we kind of saw a debut of that last year when he was a rookie. He's extremely good second baseman. Byron Buxton, of course, is always pretty good. And then Royce Lewis, who eventually would end up on the IL, which is very characteristic of him. But before, he did that, he made sure to, be an impact on that series. So, but yeah, that's the Twin series. It was a lot. We got a lot better baseball in Detroit, which I'm coming to realize that we're just a good home team. We've only played St. Louis and Miami. Now everything else has been away, but you can just kind of tell by the numbers that we are a lot more successful at home. But who were the highlights of the Miami series in your opinion?
Some of the power kind of sprinkled in throughout the rest of the lineup came through. Kerry with another one today, seemingly has finding his stride, although his average is obviously still a work in progress. At least he's showing some power ability. Riley Green has picked up a handful of hits this series, which has been good, including a home run, I do believe, as well. He continues to work on his at-bats and working counts. So although they didn't really get it all from the guys like collectively in the same game at the same time to really kind of pile on, they kind of chipped in here and there throughout the series, which frankly was needed in order to get the series win. Because you can kind of see that Kevin has slowed down just a little bit this week. He's still getting on base, still having some really good quality at bats and driving pitch counts. But I think he's kind of figuring his way through the first, 30, 45 days of a big league grind. As we noted offline too, that, they're ending this first really long stretch of play and they're about to start another one here as soon as they come off the next off day here on Monday. So, a lot of mental stuff for them to kind of go through and him go through for the first time. But obviously, we got to talk about the Parker Meadows and Riley Green collision. I didn't see it live, but that on the replay, you can kind of see him just kind of bounce the side of his head off of Riley's front of his head, I believe. That's what caused concussion. Then I thought for some reason when they said radial, it was like a bone in his face or like a fracture, which would make sense from the contact. And it being his wrist, the radial bone in his wrist that he broke. My guess is when he fell, he was already out and he couldn't break his fall. So he just fell awkwardly and was just a victim of, assault with a wound already. But he seems to be okay. And I think he traveled the next morning back to Detroit on Friday. So we'll see. I think they have to figure out if he needs surgery or not on that wrist, but more to come on that.
Absolutely. And just to round out the Marlins series, we got a good outing for Kiter Montero, who stepped in for Justin Verlander. That was on Friday. Mize followed up with another good performance. What else? We got the first Kenley Jansen save, and Drew Anderson, who had a very rough beginning to the season, actually got a 3-out save on Saturday. So good to see him bounce back. But yeah, the steady people so far has been Cole Keith, Kevin McGonigal, and Dylan Dingler. And quietly, Javi Baez is hitting well over 300. He had a big home run on Friday to kind of pad our lead a little bit, because I think we only won 2-0. But the one thing that I wanted to touch on was the guys in the middle. Obviously, Kerry Carpenter had a home run today, which was good to see from him because he struggled. He's hitting in the 100s, I think. But the other guys that round out that middle of the lineup core, Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson, have Riley Green. Well, he I think he hit his first home run on, what was that, Saturday? Yeah, I think he had a 3-run home run on Saturday. But the thing that's really jumped out to me thus far, first of all, nobody on the Tigers really faced a lot of left-handed pitching, which was at one point kind of what helped us a lot. Was our righty lineup. But Riley's been, although he hasn't hit for a lot of power, he's only got 1 home run. He has really been scorching the ball with runners in scoring position, hitting .412 as of right now, which, although we haven't had the, if you've looked at the statistics, we've been statistically one of the unluckiest teams as far as, a lot of warning track power, a lot of, hard hit contact that just hasn't found the right place. But you can tell the approach from Riley Green is a little bit different. He's cutting down on the strikeouts. He's walking more. I know he had a walk today. He actually challenged a strike 3 call and then worked the walk. But yeah, last year, his numbers were nowhere near, even though it's a small sample size, they were nowhere near .412 with runners in scoring position. So hopefully that's something that he can keep up, because when he's getting the opportunity, he's capitalizing. I think the power will come, but I think that his change in approach is going to limit his power early on, especially while where the weather is not as favorable. Same to be said about Spencer Torkelson. Let's pull up his numbers. He's also not faced many. I mean, he plays every day. He's still only faced 4 lefty at bats the entire season so far. And same thing, 357 with runners in scoring position. These were things that Riley Green and him both struggled with. A lot of their home runs were solo home runs. So the power will come. He's got a lot of hard contact, and he's walked a lot as well. Let's see how many walks. He's got 11 walks in 43 at bats. I know that's one thing that you're like, I'd rather have my power, my number 4 guy, swinging the bat, when he's at the plate. But the more base runners, the merrier. And 357 with runners in scoring position. Although the average isn't great. What's his average? Yeah, 213. The average isn't great. The OPS is below league average, but I'd like to think that it will come with time, but we will certainly see. Any thoughts on the middle of our lineup and how they fared thus far?
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that AJ is trying. I mean, he's rolled out just the past week 3 different lineups, maybe 4.
Is it just 3? Yeah.
Yeah. That's just the last 7 days. That's not counting the last 2 weeks.
Right.
Well, remember, we opened the season with Kerry leading off, which we were quickly, abort. Let's get this off now. But, he's trying to find McGonigal, like a nice little sweet spot for him right now. And today he was hitting leadoff. So I think that's where, for now, like 1 or 2 is kind of where it suits him, which is then it pushes. We've seen Torres now. I don't know if it was the whole Miami series, but definitely the last 2 days, he's hitting the 3 spot. So that moves some of those middle lineup guys, 3, 4, 5, maybe 4, 5, 6 now, because Glaber's been slotted in the 3 with Cole Keith at the 2 and vice versa. They can go either way, because I know he really likes to avoid having to go 3 of the same to start the lineup, like left, or right. So, and then that puts, Torkelson, who had been up there, Green, Carpenter, but now you've seen Dingler is bad at cleanup too. I think on Friday or Thursday, bad cleanup. Just because visibility, driving runs, he's got some extra base hits too. So that's kind of where they've been at with that lineup. But I think it's still a feeling out process. Now, again, you lose Parker and Wenceel. I do not think he did not play today, right? I didn't
Nope.
see him pinch hit or anything.
He's been 0 for the last 2 days, so I think they just gave him the day off.
Yeah. So he was 0 for 7 so far, which is kind of not what we were hoping for. So because I don't know, I don't know how long they're going to be patient with him. I mean, other guys down there in Toledo are hitting, and other guys that we thought vocally, just out of maybe if it was considerable that one of the other catcher first base guys that have been hitting pretty well may have had an outside chance. And that's kind of where I would think that avenue would go down if they were to look at having to send him down. But I think, he's earned a little bit more time, to your point, of drawing walks and whatnot. So he's still seeing some good at-bats. He just has been lucky. So nothing really to make a judgment or for a decision, that is, judgment for a decision probably the next month or so.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on McGonigal. He's going to be a guy that I think is always going to be pretty steady. He's never going to get too high or get too low. He actually had his first home run of his career today, which was, I'm sure it was pretty exciting for him because he was supposed to have one weeks ago, but that's another story. But, just his ability to be selective at the plate, it's going to make things very difficult for pitchers. For one, he just punishes fastballs. So he's got a 308 average with 4 seams, 385 with sinkers. And you like to just throw him a ton of off-speed pitches, but unless you put it in a strike zone, he's not going to swing. He's very, he can be selective at time, but as you can see, he's got above average chase rate. And when you look at the whiff rate and K rate, he's hard to get out. He's going to put it in play, and he's going to. He doesn't have a ton of hard hit contact as of yet, but when he gets a hold of it, he can really let it fly. So,
I think he fits well at the top right now. To your point about his savant stats and his almost practically elite K and whiff chase rates. If this kid is picking it up like left and right all over the place, then him leading off should almost feel natural because his ability to read pitchers and tendency should then also, in theory, be off the chart. So if you got that kid at the top of your lineup, pretty much in the pitcher's mind by the end of the first go through the lineup, who's to say that some of these guys don't also continue to perk up again May as we get later into April, but May and June. At the key moments.
Absolutely. Let's get to the first break, and then we'll talk roster updates after that. All right. We kind of touched on the injury to Parker Meadows. What was the correlating move for that?
So Parker was injured technically and then put on the IL 10-day with the concussion / broken radial bone in his wrist on the 10th. The alternating move was bringing up obviously Wenceel Perez to take his spot, already on the 40-man. In addition, as well, we had some other roster-related news. On the 7th, Bailey Horn began his rehab in Lakeland. On the 11th, Trey Sweeney was transferred to the 60-day IL, which then opens up a spot on the 40-man for that. And then also on the 11th, JV is to begin a rehab start before his eligible to return on April 16th. They didn't give a day, but it would have to be in the next couple of days here at the beginning of this week. And additionally, they signed, because we sent you the screenshot of it, signed right-hand pitcher reliever Grant Holman on waivers from the Dodgers and an option to the Florida Coast League. And based on a quick search, another journeyman guy who hasn't really done much in the league at all. Seems like we're kind of grasping at straws here for bullpen help, and we're kind of running out of options. If we're having to sign guys off waivers, but for now, that seems to be it. But in terms of the rotation, AJ did make a note. I think it was Saturday, either pre or post game Saturday. He does expect at some point, from a rotation standpoint, Scooble and Framber will no longer be 1-2. It'll happen eventually. He said just based on the stretch of games they play, how many off days. He said eventually someone's going to get bumped and pushed out, so they will not be pitching back to back for at least not too much longer, but for at least the next couple starts.
Yeah, and I think part of that is due to the predictability of being able to line up, set up your lineup with heavy righties with two lefties back to back. I think separating them can kind of just balance out the top from the bottom. But obviously, once we get to playoff baseball, you're going to want your best player, your best pitchers to go as many times as they can. So I think that adjustment will be made. As far as the minor league report, it's kind of been a slow start for the bats. A lot of guys are struggling, but that's not to Max Clark is having a really extremely hot start. I think his average is 352 right now. A bunch of extra base hits, doesn't quite yet have a home run, but he's also been a tear, doing well defensively as well, making some nice diving catches and getting some outfield assists. Outside of that, Ben Malgeri is having a good start, Gage Workman, and Tomas Nido. But Corey Jokes hasn't been in the lineup in the last couple of days. He's had a good start as well, but slow start for Jace Young, which is unfortunate. He had a really good spring training. Same for Eduardo Valencia. So actually the more notable things that's kind of jumped out to me is some of our pitchers, which is not what we would have expected. So I didn't make any note of any specific folks, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And we'll get you some more statistics as there's more of a sample size to speak on. Oh, outside of that, Bryce Rainier had I think he had the longest home run in, what is it, Tigers? So it was in the StatCast era, though. I think it was the longest home run that a Tigers individual has ever hit, and it was 471 feet to straightaway center field. So he obviously missed a big chunk of last year with injuries. We got to see him briefly in spring training, but I anticipate that they will move him right along as he, proves that I think he's in low A right now with the Flying Tigers. Is that low A?
Yeah.
Oh, that's high A. I think low A is the FCL.
West Michigan Whitecaps.
Oh, that's high A. Okay.
Low A, like short season low A.
Right. So yeah, I expect to see him jump up to the Whitecaps before too soon, because that's where he'd probably be in Erie right now if he had played all of last year, to be honest. So
yeah,
but all I got as far as the minor league report. Let's talk around the league. We're about 15 games. How many games are we in now?
Yeah, about 13 to 15, somewhere in there. Do you have a team out there that has jumped out at you or has been making some noise that's kind of off the cuff? The Brewers are off to a pretty good start, and they're actually leading the division. Surprisingly, the Cubs are dead last in that division. So, again, a little early, but, we kind of joke about that Milwaukee's become the nationally version of the Tampa Bay Rays, where they're homegrown, they draft and they player develop really well, and they end up, selling them off in order to keep the system going. Well, we thought if they traded Freddie Peralta, they traded Contreras, we thought, okay, they're kind of soft selling. They didn't really do much in free agency. They're off to a really good start. Nothing surprising with the Dodgers, which makes me sick to my stomach. But
yeah,
they were interesting chants over the weekend of Red Sox fans chanting to sell the team. They're not off to a great start. and they're not too happy. But that's going to be a tough division. But Baltimore also is not off to the hot start that many had expected either. And I think, as we were speaking earlier, Twins were certainly giving it to the Blue Jays right now in Toronto, wrapping up their series. So still fairly early, but I think to your image there, Braves are off to a good start. But that's all only 2-3 games apart from each other. So Braves were able to take advantage of the Diamondbacks after we played them, and now they're taking on Toronto. So I know we do have a series with Atlanta coming up later this year, so it'll be interesting to see Acuna now that he's 100%.
Absolutely. Boston, they gave Roman Anthony all that money. He's been struggling at the plate, and his throwing situation has been going viral as of late. So I don't know how they didn't. I don't know if that's new stuff or if that's always been an issue, but it's certainly opening eyes right now. My interesting team has been the Pittsburgh Pirates. As it stands right now, they're actually up a game on the Brewers, and I think they're up on the Cubs as well, who you already said was in dead last at this current moment. But it's crazy to think that with Paul Skeens, I think his ERA is still at 5 right now. Ozuna's been really, really bad, and Brandon Lowe, I was gonna. Leading into the show, I was going to say Brandon Lowe hasn't been great, but he actually has hit 2 home runs today, including a grand slam. So he's kind of coming out of a jam right now. But for them to have such top players, for them to be struggling and for them to be playing as well as they have, it's something to keep an eye on. O'Neal Cruz has been hitting really well. Ryan O'Hearn was a good addition for them, and another person that hasn't really showed up as of yet, Connor Griffin. So if they can get some of those guys to put things together, they could really be dangerous, because we know that it was always the hitting for them. They're going to pitch. Skeens is going to turn things around. They got Bubba Chandler. They got a pretty good bullpen as well. They got Santana, who I think is their closer now. So they have a lot of tools, and they have an opportunity that they can continue to play well. They can possibly be aggressive at the trade deadline. So, and they started it by locking down, their stud shortstop. So, outside of that, everybody in the AL West is kind of bunched up, I'm pretty sure. But my team to watch in the American League, the Athletics, is surprisingly 8-7. I feel like every time I look up, they're losing, but yeah, as of right now, the Astros and Mariners have been kind of beating up on each other. Those road records for them. But yeah,
I saw Rooker landed on the IL, which snapped his 256 game start streak that he had going.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is pretty constant. So yeah, we'll take a look back on that in a few weeks and see how things change. I presume that things will look a little bit different. But as we look at the AL Central, we got that up. Tigers are currently in 4th place, but 4 in a row, 5-1 at home, and we got some home series coming up. We got the Royals coming up next, right?
Yeah, we do finally have a day off tomorrow. As we look ahead here at the schedule coming up, they finally get a rest day tomorrow. Tuesday through Thursday, they host the Royals. Tuesday will be Cole Reagans against Framber Valdez. Wednesday, Seth Lugo against Flaherty, with a matinee and Thursday of Chris Bubeck and Kiter Montero. They turn around for a weekend road series, speaking of the Red Sox, at Fenway Park. Friday night will be Casey Mize against Ranger Suarez. Actually, sorry, I stand corrected. I mentioned this offline. It's a weird 4-game split that they will end actually on Monday, based on how that worked in. Those are pretty rare to see a wraparound series that bleeds into the next work week. So Friday to Monday for 4. Mize on Friday, Skubal and Brian Bello on Saturday, Framber and Garrett Crochet on Sunday, And the Monday game, which is at 11:10 in the morning on Monday, will be Flaherty against Sonny Gray. So actually a pretty interesting probable lineup right now for the Boston series. But first, the 3-game homestand with our second divisional team we've seen this year, the Royals.
Yeah, and I'd like to think that this next divisional one will go a little bit better. Can't go much worse than losing 4 in a row. But once again, early in the season, but you don't want to. You want to pad some. You want to pad some wins on against your divisional opponents, because those are the games that matter late in the year, when you got a scoreboard watch and you're hoping for somebody to lose. Like you don't want to be in that position. You want to be in the position of controlling your own destiny. So we kind of talked about the probables, and you kind of alluded to guys that or at least one person that you were concerned about, or just wondering how much more of a leash do we have. So obviously Wencio Perez is one of the guys that fall under the concerns list. Anybody else that you can think of that you just want to see pick things up, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, I mean, we've said it offline too. I mean, it's Will Vest in a nutshell, but also to the same point of AJ not putting him in the damn 8th inning anymore, and just trying to get the man's confidence back here, because the splits don't lie, and they are absolutely atrocious. It's almost like Torque's career record or batting average when it's runners on second and third or second in less than 2 outs. He's like, what now, 7 he did today. He had a runner in scoring position, base hit, RBI. So he's now 7 for 73 lifetime. But I digress. Will Vest, because he's still needed this bullpen without question. So Finnegan's had some control issues, a lot of walks, I think, in one, not this outing that he did pitch in today, but the one previous, I think he had like 3 or 4 walks. So a little bit of concern issues right there. We're going to need Will Vest to get back on the right side of the horse here going forward for that bullpen to continue to lock down the high leverage situations.
All right. And for me, definitely, I mean, obviously Perez had a rough spring training. He's getting an early opportunity with Parker Meadows, who was actually faring pretty well. So it's unfortunate that he's having this injury situation, because it seems to be kind of the reoccurring theme every year. Last year it was the shoulder. The year before that, he was struggling, and then I think he had a hamstring situation. I'm not sure, but it's always, he's going to be out for a little bit. I think the concussion situation is past him, but the broken bone in his arm is something they'll probably take their time with. But yeah, that's going to give Perez and a few other guys that are struggling a few more opportunities. One being Jahmai Jones, who is 0 for at this point. I don't think he has a single hit as of yet. He's had a handful of handful of opportunities against lefties, and looked pretty bad against righties. There's not a lot of guys that are just tearing the cover off the ball as far as in AAA, as far as outfielders are concerned. So I think that will spare him a little bit of time. But yeah, I mean, he can't really hit righties, and he's not a good defensive player. So it makes him a little bit more, a little more difficult to hold on to. One blessing being that he's playing so bad that probably nobody will pick him up. So we might be able to DFA him and bring him back, bring him back to Toledo. Matt Vierling is not having a great start either. You got Wencio Perez, Matt Vierling, another outfielder, and then you got Jahmai Jones. I think that Vierling is going to have a little bit more of a opportunity to struggle, because you don't have any he doesn't have any options as well, but he can play a couple of different positions. One thing is that he's not going to get any work at third, because you got McGonigal, you got Colt Keith, You got McKinstry, you got plenty of guys that can play third base. So he's pretty much only going to play center field and in the corners. Yeah, Hobby's playing well. He's hitting 3. The Savant page isn't pretty, but he's putting
Twin series saved him.
Yeah, but he hit the homer. He hit the homer against Miami though.
Yeah,
but
the sweeper. Did you see the replay of it?
Oh man, yeah, I was there, but
it was silly. But yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was silly. Practically one knee flag Guerrero style.
Yeah, I don't even know how he got got the bat on that. But one person that we haven't talked about who has quietly been struggling is Gleyber Torres. He's definitely gonna put the bat on the ball. He's gonna take his walks. But one thing that jumped out at me, and I just kind of saw this in just scrolling through, was that he's when they looked at the top 10 players with the biggest change in bat speed, Gleyber Torres was amongst that group. We know that he had a good first half of last year. Struggled in the second half, and then he had the hernia. And it makes me wonder with, as you can see, he's in the 6th percentile of bat speed, 5th percentile of hard hit contact. How he's going to age the rest of the year. Obviously, he's putting the bat on the ball, but if he's not getting on base, even if he is getting on base, his inability to run the base pass very well is going to make him a little bit less valuable. One thing that is nice is that the fielding is up, which never would have expected that. So, although he is defending better, he's not hitting the ball hard at all. The power is, been obsolete this year, but 15, 16, that's kind of his wheelhouse the last 2 years. So, any thoughts about Gleyber Torres?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an awkward spot they're in right now because they have a handful of right-handed hitters that are all struggling at the same time. So you don't really have the affordability to bench more than one of these guys at any given time, purely in order to keep that flexibility in the lineup that AJ loves so much to do, to create the mismatches, not just out of the rotation, the starting pitcher, but out of the bullpen and more late game, high leverage situations. So he's been kind of rotating those 3 guys and getting rest throughout this week as they try to work through it. Torkelson again had an RBI hit with a runner in scoring position today, albeit the game I think was already 5-0 at the time. It was already after the 3-run homer that was hit. So, but still, it was good for him to get that. Riley's had some, you said, RBI hits, runners in scoring position, nothing too crazy. Although he did have 1 home run, it's needed, but they don't really have, like you said, unless they make a drastic decision and cut ties with Jemiah's professional contract or, whoever else. But because a lot of the kids down there that you highlighted well this spring, a lot of them are lefties. I think one might be a switch hitter between the 3 of them that are catcher first base. But other than that, we know Max Clark is a lefty. And to my knowledge, I think Max Anderson, middle infielder, is also a left-handed hitting.
Right.
Okay. So he'd be the only other one down there that, in terms of right-handed hitters, to help keep that balanced lineup in terms of down there. But again, he'd be a guy you have to put on the 40-man. So,
yeah. And let me see. I'm trying to see because I kind of forgot about. I don't know how, but I kind of forgot about Max Anderson. I'm trying to see how he's been playing because the one the one good thing about it is he is. Is he on the 40? No, he's not on the 40-man roster.
No, he's not. No, and neither is Clark.
But Hayu Lee is, and he's back. It's not tearing the cover off the ball, but where is Anderson? Been a couple days since he played.
I only mentioned the catcher first base trio guys, Valencia, Lorenzo, Briseño, just because of that. I feel like that would be the group that they're going to pick from if it does come to push him to shove, in the next 60 days that Torque just can't. He maybe still might be walking, but he's just not getting the hits, and average is hovering around 200, a little under. I think that would be the option of guys they would look at for that spot in that situation.
Yeah, Briseño's he's out for a while. Valencia's has had a slow start. Lorenzo, I think he's hurt. Is he hurt? Or maybe he's starting.
I think one of them was.
He might just be an Erie, and I haven't really paid attention to Erie, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're quite a ways away from seeing any Torque moves, just because I don't know. When you look at the analytics, he actually grades out pretty good. He's had a lot of misfortune so far. I mean, damn, look at that. Yeah, he's super, super disciplined. No chase, walking in 95 percentile, and the hard hit rate and the barrels are above average. So I think it's going to be just a matter of finding the grass and finding the bleachers as well. When I look at it, there's not a lot of long fly balls. A lot of this is kind of it's hard line drives, but like I said, the one favorable thing for him is the fact that he is getting on base and he's hitting 357 with runners in scoring position. So as long as guys like McGonigal and Torres can continue to get on, it's trending to where he's going to be able to knock them in. So we'll see. It's definitely on the list of things that I'm interested to see how they play out in the next week or so. But let's get to the last break and close it on out. All right. So as we welcome in the Kansas City Royals, who do we have after the Royals?
After the Royals, it's that 4-game wraparound set in Boston, and then briefly beyond that, 3-game set against Milwaukee, and a quick 3-game road trip to Cincinnati to almost round out April.
Okay. So with that said, what players do you have your eye on as far as what players do you have your eye on?
I kind of would like to see Kerry Carpenter put some consistency into this next road series. I think for a lot of these guys, just getting back home for the home opener series and then getting back home again the second time. They've been on the road a little bit, so trying to find a routine and get settled in mentally has been good. So, kind of carried this over here into Kansas City. Need to bounce back for sure. Got to win this series. No panic button or anything. I'm just saying, you don't want to go 1-6 to start your first 7 divisional games. It's not a good recipe for success going forward in terms of being able to control your own destiny, which this team has seen on both sides of the spectrum in the second half of the last 2 years. So these guys understand that noticeably well. Specifically, I think we've highlighted on Torque enough. That's a given. Kerry, I think consistency from a pitching standpoint. Will Vest outside the 8th inning. Need to see a bounce back from him. And Scooble bounced back today. So I'd say, Frommer, just get back on the horse and put up a quality start. You don't need to pitch a complete game shutout to prove it. Just shake off the last one. And I think that'll qualm some of the ugly issues that we saw over the course of, end of Sunday back against the Seattle series and then Minnesota.
Yeah. And Kerry, I think amongst that core of Torque, Carey, and Green, he's been the most volatile amongst all of them. Obviously, he has super, super high moments dating back to the playoffs, but yeah, I would just like to see a little bit more consistency. The Twin Series was kind of a weird start for him because he did have, I think he had like the stomach flu or something going on. He was sick at the beginning of that road trip. So that was kind of weird, but definitely got to cut down on the swing and miss. You look at the whiffs and the Ks, that's, amongst the worst in the league, but when he makes contact, puts bat to the ball, it's going to be, it's going to be a problem. So, hopefully we can see some more consistency from him. I'm hoping that Riley can continue the power and, knock out a few homers while we're at home. I think the stats show that Riley and Torque both fare very well at home. So hopefully they can help carry, take us over the top and get some wins on the Royals, because they are directly ahead of us in the standings. And keep an eye on Glaber. I don't know. I don't think his bat speed was ever at the top of the league. So for him to have one of the more drastic, declines in bat speed over the off season when he's coming back from a hernia surgery, it's a little concerning, especially because he's already pretty slow. That I don't think that he's going to get any faster. So, but yeah, that's about it. I like the Framber one for sure. He had a pretty rough outing last time. Got it together late, but one thing that I will say is that I don't think very often are we going to see a back-to-back outings of Skubal and Framber both getting shelled. I just don't think that that's going to be something that we see a lot of. So hopefully we can hang our hat on that and take care of business against the divisional foes. Closing remarks before we get up out of here.
Yeah, some of the guys provided some hits this weekend that have kind of been struggling around too. McKinstry had some key hits. He's played all over the field defensively. I mean, right field, second base, third base. He's been all over the map, which has been needed, especially with the the absence of Parker and Deerling and Baez having a little more center field duty. So some of these guys are going to get a little more. Someone's having a great Sunday fun day out there.
Good old Woodward.
A little early for August, but the month does start with A. But it's some good stuff. Dingler, and I said it offline. I'll say it right now, just because I still feel confident about it. With the way Colt Keith's start has been impressive, for sure. I think you extend him beyond the good deal you got him now. Give him another 3 years after. You lock up Cam McGonigal, which now it did come to light too that the Griffin deal, they said, started negotiations back during the winter meetings in November, the GM winter meeting in Florida. So it took almost 6 months to get done, but I would be fine upping the dollar value that Griffin got for McGonigal and then extend Dingler 4 years, like 80 mil, 20 million a year. You get all these guys at great value, well into their late 20s. McGonigal will be around almost Skubal's age, almost 29 at his next opportunity to get a bag. And for Kevin, I'd be like, look, give him 8 years, 160. Give him 20 million a year. Yeah. Oof. And guess what? And he still has a chance for maybe 300 his next go around. You wouldn't tell me that a kid that young at 2021 right now, right? And be like, man, you could average me at almost $500 million in my career. Where do I sign? And like, now. But that's just my take. And in the Chris Illich spending of the Scott Harris era, value, all these guys would be at a good value amount for what they're getting early in their arbitration years. But I think in the long run, it pans out, and you can still afford to get guys, because after this year, Framber is the only guy over $20 million a year right now. So,
I think that they'll definitely. I mean, this Savant page is beautiful, just red all over the place. We're still holding out for the power. I think the power is coming for a lot of these guys, but not for power, but home run wise, he doesn't have one yet. So that's on the way. That might be the next home run. I might call that right now. But yeah, as far as Magano was concerned, I mean, yeah, I think he's checked every box, and today checked off the home run box. But defensively, he made a nice play in the hole, like a Jeter-esque jump throw in the shortstop position. So yeah, whatever it takes in that realm of the Connor Griffins and Cole Emersons and all those guys. Lock him down, because he's the shortstop of the future. Javi's almost, up out of here. But yeah, Dingler, same thing. Yeah, because he's young. He's not just the best defensive catcher. He's also one of the best hitting catchers as well. He's relatively, we'll have the rest of, if you lock him in now, we'll have the rest of his prime, because he is upper 20s and plays catcher. But one guy that we didn't talk about was Jake Rogers. He's currently hitting 083, and I'm pretty sure we've lost every game that he's played. I mean, he's pretty much an automatic out. None of the catchers in AAA. Well, Tomas Nido. I don't know how good of a major league hitter he is, but yeah, he's actually playing pretty well. But I think Jake's probably bought himself out a little bit more time just because Briseño's hurt, and I want to say Lorenzo's hurt too. So yeah, a lot of our catcher prospects are banged up, with Tomas Nido being the for certain number 3 right now. So let's see if Jake can get on the board, because I think 083's got to be just one for whatever. So yeah, but for everybody out there, subscribe to the channel. We provide you some content once a week. We recap a week in Tigers baseball. Every once in a while, we'll give you a little recap throughout the week. But yeah, lock in with us.
Get your lick back. If a nugget do something